It's showtime, folks!
Oh man, I am tired of being offended by WWE. The Bobby Lashley sister segment. It is one of the most horrific, offensive segments in, I don't know if I can just say WWE history. There's a lot of those in history, but in recent history, it sure is one of the most offensive and worst segments. And I got down to this, and I just talked about yesterday about how WWE has ruined Bobby Lashley. I just talked about that yesterday. And like, look, going into the segment, I was already expecting it to be bad. So going into the segment, people were mentioning that, this could be Bayley, This Is Your Life bad, and whatever bad segment you can think about. So look, if the segment would have just been bad, then so be it. I still would have been ticked off because Bobby Lashley is being wronged here. But the segment was offensive. And I just look, from a black man's perspective, it's just to a point to where I'm tired of these segments being accepted in this overly PC culture. We live in a highly overly PC culture, and like, these things just kind of slide by. Like, I see some, all of us, there's a high majority of us that don't like these segments, like the New Day, the Old Day segment. We don't like them, but it's like these things just slide by. There could be other things that I can think of right off the top of my head that would get WWE in huge trouble if they tried it. But when it comes to this, these things just kind of slide by. We get mad at it, and then the next week it's just whatever. I'm just at the point where when you look at the segment, and I didn't even go back and watch it a second time. You got the segment, it's guys coming down in dresses, and then you get the point of the promo where they say that Bobby Lashley would be around and people would just call cops on him when he was just around. And look, what are they thinking? My question is, what are they thinking in the creative room? Like, to be honest, I wonder if there's a black person on the creative staff, because if I'm sitting in the creative room and I hear that line go by, the first thing I'll say is, look, man, that's going to offend a lot of people. That's going to offend a segment of your fans, and it's just going to upset a lot of people. And like, I can see that what angers me is that black people are not, I know there were people in there that thought, okay, this is a subject that is happening. So why couldn't people in the back know that and then say, okay, let's not bring it up on TV because this is a subject that is happening and going on in today's world, and it will offend people if they see something like that on wrestling TV. I have a hard time explaining. And I was on Twitter and I seen somebody say that, man, that Bobby Lashley segment was offensive. How could y'all even still watch WWE? And like, I wanted to respond to the tweet, but at the end of the day, I couldn't, because there's no saying that, it's just a segment, or, it's just wrestling. And no, that's an offensive segment, excuse me. And like, a lot of people are just ticked off about it, and I'm ticked off about it, but at the end of the day, I know nothing's gonna change. And also, at the end of the day, what really upsets me is that it's Bobby Lashley. And like, from a personal perspective, I like to see, look, so long as they're built up to it, and so long as they deserve it in the storyline, they've been built up to it, I like to see a brother hold the title one day, the main championship one day. And like, it's like The Rock was our only hope. And looking at Lashley, it hurts me because I saw Lashley once coming out of Impact Wrestling. He was grade A material. So I'm going into WWE and I was like, well, Lashley might have a chance to hold the main title one day. So seeing Lashley in this segment is like confirming that something like that will never happen for Bobby Lashley. So I mean, this is just offensive on a whole lot of levels, and I'm just sick and tired of seeing it on WWE television. But the drawback is wrestling is something that I really love and love to talk about. So what can I realistically do to combat this? Like, I had this discussion on Twitter with, and now I'm forgetting his name. It was a really civil discussion about fans walking out on wrestling if they really wanted to see change, and I wholeheartedly agreed with it. But you run into this situation to where you say, okay, there are really too many things that I love about wrestling to give up on it. And this segment was another case that just really offended me, and I'm sick of seeing it on WWE television. But I find myself in the position of saying, what is it that I can realistically do to see segments like these go away? And there's really nothing, because Vince McMahon is back there and he pretty much loves all of these segments. Let's just call it for what it is. Vince McMahon loves these segments, so they're not going away. The shucking and jiving, it's not going away, unfortunately for me as a wrestling fan. And to see these racial overtones and to see these racial stereotypes, like, I got to deal with that just to see something that I really love. And that's something that I really love. It's wrestling. So I'm sick of it, but it's at the point to where I have to deal with it to see a AJ Styles, to see things that I love in wrestling. So it sucks. And that Bobby Lashley segment, I got off course there, but that Bobby Lashley segment was just horrible. The Three Sisters, that was just horrible. From start to end, excuse me. I don't even know who thought that would be a good idea. Let me know down below. Do you think I'm being too tough on the segment? Do you think I'm being too tough in general? Let me know your thoughts. Are you sick of being offended by WWE? What do you think they should do to change things? Let me know.